My name's John Lucas. I live in Norwich. I'm 51 years of age. I'm very interested in all sorts of things. I think that's one of my problems. There is too much to be interested in. I read, I watch movies, I used to stage manage, assistant produce, I coached and refereed rugby. I love the countryside and the outdoors. But obviously, with my health problems, I found it progressively difficult to engage in those things. In June of 2013, I was walking to meet my befriender for a cup of coffee one evening, and I suffered severe chest pains, and it felt just like the first heart attack I'd had. So I phoned 999. Within 3 minutes, a paramedic was with me. Within 8 minutes, an ambulance was with me, and within 15 minutes, I was in A&E. And I came out 24 hours later, having had a raft of tests and examinations and a change of medication put in place and a care and treatment plan put in place, and that took 24 hours to deal with. To me, that is a very marked contrast in the response times that one gets when one is in mental health crisis and one is in physical health crisis. In May 2013, I had a lot of problems and difficulties going on in my life, and I reached crisis point. I went through the right route, which was my GP at the time, and he sent a fax in front of me to my mental health support team. And I eventually got a reply back from my mental health support team 14 days after my GP had sent the fax. It was followed up with a meeting with a psychiatrist who changed my medication. And from that point, that was the last time I had any contact with anybody over support until April of this year, when I had another crisis. I went out to a concert to see a musician, American musician called Dan Stewart, who I'd wanted to see since 1984, and he was playing locally in Norwich. And I went out with my befriender, and my mood from being very depressed went through the roof. And when I got home that evening, I decided to kill myself. I decided to kill myself because I could no longer cope, and I could no longer cope with my rapid mood swings like that. To go from being really, really, really hyper happy and hyperactive because I was seeing somebody I'd always wanted to see, to being suicidally depressed and getting no support from anybody, I gave up. I contacted my crisis team at the Mental Health Trust, and after a short conversation, I was told, "We are about to go out and see somebody else. Can you hang on till the morning?" A friend I'd seen earlier that day, who was very concerned about me, phoned me a few minutes later, and they talked me down. And they did what the Mental Health Trust should have done. The follow-up call from the Mental Health Trust the next day didn't happen. I had to chase. So the first face-to-face contact with somebody that I had when I'd had come that close to taking my own life was after 10 days. At that appointment, I was given a change of medication and promised a follow-up within 4 weeks. I received no follow-up, although they did phone me when I was out and left a message saying, "We've tried to get hold of you." I don't feel I am being supported at the moment, and I don't understand at all why society doesn't want me to die of a physical health problem, but seems happy for me to die of a mental health problem. I know that if my mood descends again or raises again, I'm going to have to chase support from the Mental Health Trust. What I'm relying on is that I'm relying on volunteers such as my befriender, who's completely untrained in mental health. He's just somebody I go out and socialise with. In a perfect world, I would expect mental health crisis care to be the same as phoning 999 for an ambulance. But I realise that that's not going to happen, certainly not for a very long time. But for me, one of the most critical things is if you phone up for help, that the person at the other end of the phone accepts what you're saying, believes you, trusts you. It's that acceptance, the fact that you are feeling the way you are, will help you bring your own mood down.